What's up, fellas? It's your boy Freelancer here today. So today I want to talk about one of my favorite producers of all time, and that is Dilla. One of the reasons why he's my favorite producer of all time, one of my favorite producers of all time, is because his catalog is so extensive. It's because his production is so on point. The grooves, the soulful vibes, the way he like puts samples next to each other and like bends them and manipulates them to get like really interesting sounds and even interesting like words and stuff like that, especially off with songs like Players by Some Village. And I also want to go into like how influential he is, because there are a bunch of babies that he's created, production babies. And yeah, so let's get right into it. I got into Dilla, I believe. It was weird because I never really looked into Dilla until a bit later. But around 2014, 2015, as I was listening to guys like a Tribe Called Quest, like a Common, like a Pharcyde, right? Those three guys I was listening to, I realized that he had a hand in production in all of them, right? And I just find it really interesting and like, oh right, this guy, this guy knows his shit, right? And then I heard of Donuts and I checked that one out, and I'm like, oh yeah, this guy, he's really dope. It's really great. And then through that, and I sat down and I really went through his production catalog and what makes him unique, and we'll listen to all his best stuff. And yeah, and he's one of the most consistent and brilliant and influential hip-hop producers of all time. Now I'm gonna start with the beginning, because even his really early stuff, like pre-Pharcyde, right, it's so decent. Like the first song he did in '93, which was Sweet One by Thick, I believe it's T.H.I.Q.U.E with full stops in between each letter. And it's an okay, R&B song. It's cool. You can hear some of the soul and some of the, like the jazzy tones that he has in a lot of his beats on this song. And then I think the first hip hop song he worked is in '94 with Dana or Da MSC or Da NSC. I think the song was called Now, and that's a pretty good song. Pretty good. But to me, the first truly great Dilla beat and Dilla song in general would be First Down. It was him and Phat Kat, and I believe the song is called A Day with the Homies, right? That's a brilliant beat, brilliant song. Phat Kat killed it, and he would even work with Phat Kat later on, whereas with the previous two, like no one, like even like among hip hop heads, no one really listens to these guys, or they didn't really progress in their career. With Phat Kat, I'm not saying the guy was like the best rapper ever, but he was a good rapper, right? And he had several of the great songs with Dilla later on in his career, right? With his debut album that came out in 2004, almost 9 years later, right? And yeah, and I just want to go off a bit of a tangent here. Like, people who disliked my video on Marlowe too, I just want to say, guys like Phat Kat, in my opinion, have way better vocal delivery than guys like Solomon Brigham, right? And guys like Dilla was working with them, so he had better production and better vocal delivery. And I just feel like the guys who really dislike my Marlowe 2 video or my reviews on various other artists really need to truly dig into guys like Dilla. And if you love guys like Marlowe, I highly recommend guys like Phat Kat, right? Because again, he has fantastic production on some of his songs, and he has fantastic vocals on these fantastic production as well, right? So yeah, so Phat Kat, First Down, A Day with the Homies is a great song. And yeah, and after that, I think he did an album with 5 Elementz, which I believe is a rap group. I think Proof was in that group. It's very lo-fi. This is even less quality than First Down, but you can still hear some really interesting beats and really creative stuff, like I believe rock shows. I think it's Janet Jacme or Jacme. I'm butchering that word. It's spelled Jacme or Jacme or Jacme or something like that. Like, that song's dope. That beat was dope. Don't Stop. All of these are like lo-fi, low quality kind of beats, but they're still really dope, right? And yeah, and with Proof, he did some stuff with them later on, like Life, which is fantastic beat. Again, a little bit lo-fi in the vocals, but yeah, but you can still hear the passion from him as an MC, and you can still hear the fantastic beat as well, which works perfectly. And on top of that, you have The Science, which is another great track when it came out in '98. It's like a Detroit like mixtape or something along those lines, right? Now, Pharcyde. This album, their sophomore album, in my opinion, is their best album. The Drop, brilliant song, brilliant video as well. Shout out to Spike Jones who did that video. You also have Why. You also have Splatatorium, you have Running, and you have a bunch of other just great songs. Yeah, you have just a bunch of others. I think it's start. Yeah, and And with this time, he started to gain recognition among hip-hop circles. This was the album that really put J Dilla on the map, right? With this album, I think it put Q-Tip onto him, and with Q-Tip on a track called Quest, he formed the group the Ummah, I believe it's called. I apologize for butchering the term, but it's a group with him, Q-Tip, and Ali Shahid Muhammad under the alias the Ummahs, right? It was those three producers / rappers all formed the group together. And with this, they produced a bunch of great stuff, such as Keep It Moving and The Shining from Busta Rhymes The Coming, and I think it's So Hardcore that When Disaster Strikes of Busta Rhymes. Once again, Keep It Moving, Wordplay of Beats, Rhyme and Life, Against the World, Busta's Laments, Stepping It Up off the Love Movement, and Crustration Purple Remix. That's a brilliant song, by the way. Highly love that one. Highly recommend checking out. That's probably a top 5 Dilla beat to me, the remix of Purple Crustration. And he also produced with Q-Tip and most of Amplified, which is a pretty good album. Higher, Brave and Stop, Moving With You, and Let's Ride. You know, those are just 4 examples of great beats he did with Q-Tip. So yeah, so between that time frame, and he did a bunch of other great stuff as well, like Della Souls, you know, Stakes Is High, that's a brilliant beat. And in that time frame, he did a bunch of great stuff. And produced a bunch of great stuff, whether it's on his own, but obviously mainly with the Ummahs, and that really elevated him even more. Yeah, so I believe it was around 99 or around that time, he also joined the Soulasquarian movement group, collective type thing. It had The Roots, Common, I think I had D'Angelo and Q-Tip on it as well. And through there, you know, he produced some other stuff. I think he did a beat for The Roots, Dynamite, or Things Fall Apart, which was a good beat. But the next project, and who were also under Soulasquarians, which is by far probably my favorite overall album he produced, and that is Fantastic Volume 2. Now, Fantastic Volume 1 is just Fantastic Volume 2, but with worse quality pretty much, so I'll definitely recommend the second one over the first one, although you can definitely hear some of the ideas, a lot of the ideas from the first one coming on to the second one, right? But yeah, man, like this album, holy crap, there's like 19 songs, I think 20 if you include the bonus tracks, but like 18 of them are straight fire. I'm just gonna go over a few of you now, guys. Like, I don't know, brilliant sample, that vocal edit, you know, I don't know why I'm be fucking with you, you know what I mean? Like, that chorus is just brilliant, that groove is great, the beat is great. Yeah, man. And then the next one, what's the next one? A Player. Oh my god, like, I think it sampled Unlimited, Claire, right? And so he just took the Claire part of Claire and goes, Claire, like that. I'm sorry, terrible singer, but, you know, he takes the Claire part, the Lair part of Claire, right? And chops it into the beat to make it sound like he's saying Player. And it's like, edits is, and that's what I love about it. It's just crazy, yeah. It's just mental. And other brilliant songs like Get This Money, that beat, the bass on that is just ridiculous. The groove is ridiculous. You know, Fall in Love, one of his more iconic beats. Like the way the piano samples been done, it's just like, or maybe like a harpsichord or something like that. The way that's edited, it's just amazing. And the chorus is great, and the vocals are great as well. So this album, the reason why I love it as well, is that while the rapping isn't, yeah, sure, they're not the best lyricists or anything, but Elzhi, JD, and the other members all sound brilliant over this production, right? And they all sound absolutely fantastic over this production. Now, another album that came out in 2000 that he had a heavy hand in was Like Water for Chocolate, the Common album, right? And that's a great album as well. Now, to me, this album, I'll probably give it like an A or something like that. Yeah, and I'm only really going to give scores to these albums and albums where it's, you know, J Dilla is the main artist or the main focus, or it's him and another guy, because, you know, he's done like 2 or 3 songs for so many projects, right? But anyway, yeah, like Water for Chocolate, he produced like 3/4 of this album, or at least it was him and a co-producer for 3/4 of this album. And yeah, it's absolutely fantastic album. It's a great album, probably like an A, maybe an A-, but it's at least an A- to an A. Brilliant album. You know, you got Doing It, you got The Light. I love the vocoder on The Light. You got Nag Champa. I'm not too sure if I'm pronouncing it right, but you know, there's like a reverse guitar in there every so often, and that sounds brilliant. Really adds its own flavor to the song. Then you have Questions. Love the electric pianos and like the And like the way the female, like with the subtle female questioning what he's doing, that comes up every so often. That's incorporated into the beat really, really well. And then you have a song for Sada. I love the pianos, and I also love the subtle feedback on the vocals. So there's like a delay effect that's also got a lot of like feedback on it, which really, again, it creates an interesting vibe to the song. And then after that, you got a film called Pimp, right? I love the flute on it, I love the bass and the pianos, love the way it's all mixed, love the way the grooves there, and the movement, and the movement, which is a song later on that I did with Common. And yeah, so that album is a brilliant album. The song movement's great as well. And the album gets an A for me. Yeah, I mean, it's other great, like Primo did a joint in it, which is great. I think Questlove did a couple of songs on it that was good. That's a brilliant stuff. So the stuff he did in the year 2000 alone really puts him in that like top 50 pedestal. Like he produced like one album that I think was an A plus, another album that I think was an A. Like very few, maybe like the RZA, maybe Dr. Dre, but very few producers have done that. Very few. Maybe Havoc in '96, but like very few, right? And now in 2001, his debut solo album came out, which is Welcome to Detroit. And the album is pretty good. They're only really like, it's one of those albums where most of the album is okay. It's decent, but it's not amazing. But there are 3 songs on it that I love. Y'all Ain't, Pause, and It's Like That. Those 3 songs are brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I think Frank and Dank did the verses to Pause, and that's really good too. And also want to briefly touch him as a rapper is pretty good, but he's not really like he just works, right? He works with the beats. He's not like a mind-blowing lyricist, but he works really well. And in 03, in 02, I think he produced Electric Circus with Common. I'm not big on that one, but he also produced Stand to the Side off Kweli. He produced a couple of songs for Kweli, the Talib Kweli album, but Stand to the Side is my favorite one he did, and that was a really dope beat. And now in 03, Rust Dust was okay. The Crushing, the Dollars were decent, but they weren't amazing. There wasn't a song in it that I really loved. However, Champion Sound, that is my shit. The one he did with Madlib, that is a brilliant album. I'll give it an A minus. The Heist is brilliant. It almost reminds me a little bit of Boom by Royce 5'9" with the TikTok and the hi-hat. The Red was great, Strip Club was great, Stars was great, React was great, Raw Shit. Oh man, it's just a brilliant album, really fantastic, great album. Yeah, so here comes the depressing part. By around 2003, towards the end of 2003, he started to develop some serious medical issues. I believe it was a thrombotic, thrombocytopenic purpura, like a blood disease, and lupus, and possibly lupus as well. His catalog becomes a lot less up until closer to his death, where I think he decided to, he realized he didn't have much time left, so he decided to put out as much content as he possibly could. And but he was still, putting out, good work for sure. Like in '04, he produced a couple songs off the Elzhi project, such as Concrete Eyes and Look at My Friend. Those 2 beats are fantastic. I think the mixtape was Witness My Growth, and those 2 songs from that mixtape were absolutely fantastic. And with Phat Kat, he did a dedication 2004, and Big Booties off the dedication of the Undeniable, the album Undeniable, which is I haven't really heard the rest of the album, but those songs were dope. So those 2 songs were dope. He also did a good song with him, Dedication, the one from '99, which was a good single as well. So yeah, he was still putting in work in '04 and '05. He had a hand in B by Common, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but his beats were cool. I do personally prefer The Movement, which also came out that year. I believe it was on the NBA 2K6 soundtrack, which I think is probably his best beat from that year. But yeah, and then so he did Donuts, right, on his deathbed pretty much. It's literally on his deathbed. Like I think he even went on tour in a wheelchair, and yeah, he was just, he even apparently had his mom come in and like clean his hands, and why he could continue to make beats on his deathbed. It's crazy. He couldn't even walk or anything. He could barely walk, and he was still making beats, just nuts. Now, Donuts, to me, it's one of those albums where I feel like, it's just personally, I actually prefer The Shining to Donuts, if we're talking later work from Dilla. I will say Donuts is a good album. It's a unique album, right? It's a unique album. It's kind of got its own vibe, its own aesthetic to it. I'll probably give it like a B if I were to give it a rating overall, because there's like 30 beats on it, and like 8 of them I love. So you know, it's still a good project. Obviously, I'm gonna go over some of them with you. Now I love the Lightworks. Um, yeah, man, like the way he edited that, you know, light up the spliffs, you know, it almost sounds like a nursery rhyme about, you know, they're Lightworks, and he like chops it up and edits it to sound like she's saying light up the spliffs, which is just genius to me. And I love the way alarm is incorporated in that beat. But there are several other beats where I just hear that alarm, which was one of the things that kind of annoyed me after a while. You know, I didn't think that should have been on all the beats, and some of the beats as well are better than others, and some of them. Well, I like the aesthetic. I don't really get much groove out of it, but it's still all the beats still kind of work within the aesthetic that he was going for this album. So this album, it's still a good album overall, and I like it a lot. So yeah, Lightworks, love Lightworks. I love Waves, I love Differences, I love Time. I think, yeah, the Roots used that in Can't Stop Us, the last song of Game Theory. And a couple of other songs like One for Ghost, where it's a good beat, but the way it's used by Ghostface on Fish Scale with a whip you with a strap, like I love that. I love that song, like the concert, you know, the way Ghost is rapping on it. He really elevates it, right? And yeah, and there's a couple others as well, like Don't Cry, which is great, you know, it's really powerful, you know, and there's even another song where he mentions his brother, you know, telling him pretty much to continue with his work. And it's really, stuff like that really makes me go, that it does elevate the album to me, you know, it makes me, even if I don't love this album from beginning to end, I still got loads of respect for it. And I really feel like this is an album that he wanted to do. Now, The Shining is a great album in my opinion. That's, it's a bit more, I guess, more accessible than Donuts, I'd say Won't Do is a brilliant beat. I love that beat. The vocoders on it are just fantastic, and he raps pretty well. He's not amazing lyrically in it, but he does really good. He sounds really great over the beat, and it works perfectly. So Far Gone, which is a reincorporation of a By Off Donuts. And I feel like on So Far Gone, I just prefer. I think it's flashed out better. I love the way it's chopped better. D'Angelo kills it. Common kills it. Yeah, so I definitely prefer that to what was on Donuts. E equals MC squared. That's a brilliant track. Common killed that shit. Baby was great. Madlib had a hand in production, and it works really well. It's a brilliant beat. Dying Peace remix with Kweli. That's another great track for me. You know, Kweli kills it, and yeah, those are probably my standout tracks of it. There's a couple of others that I love, but yeah, man, I'm a huge fan of these projects. I'm a huge fan of Dilla. A bunch of people, you know, have a copy of this guy or have emulated from this guy, guys like Apollo Brown, guys like The Orange, of course I have to mention that, Flying Lotus. There's so many people that have copied the way this guy chops samples, the way this guy incorporates grooves and samples, you know, like multi-layering hi-hats and things like that, and incorporating like, you know, jazzy elements, unusual time signatures, things like that in his beats, which is just crazy, you know, especially on songs like Stakes is High. Yeah, so got a lot of love and a lot of respect for J Dilla. He's one of the best producers of all time. And yeah, if I had to quickly give top 5 beats, I'll go with Stakes is High, Crustration. I'll give Get This Money. I'll throw in I'll say Falling in Love and Won't Do. You know, so those 5 beats. You know, and those are just 5 top of the head, really. Yeah, so I could go into why I love them more. So yeah, so peace. Like this video, dislike it if you don't. Subscribe for more content. Comment below how you feel this video, how do you feel J Dilla in general. Where does he rank in your list? He's definitely a top 5 for me, maybe top 3. Yeah. See you in a bit. Peace.